We're standing here in the Sony PlayStation lounge at the W Hotel at GDC. It's Sai here, who's been demoing Motorstorm Apocalypse to us, and it's actually a near-finished game that you showed off.
Pretty much, yeah. The game's due out in Europe towards the end of next month, and then in the US in April. So we're pretty much finished now, and it's something of a relief. It's been 3 years of hard work, and we're just really proud to show it off now.
One would think that after making a couple of Motorstorm games, you would get used to it, but this one changes things up a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when we set out to make this game, we set out to make pretty much the most insane, over-the-top action racer that anybody had ever seen. And the way we did that is we looked at what was core to Motorstorm, core to the franchise, like the core DNA, and we said, okay, that's the stuff we need to keep. So like the multiple routes, the kind of the way the boost that works, the boost management. So all of that stays the same. But everything else we just threw out the window, right? You know, we just changed everything. And we just wanted to make something completely different and completely unexpected. And really almost subvert the conventions of racing games. I mean, we play everything. We play a lot of action adventure games. A big fan of Uncharted and God of War. And we thought to ourselves, well, look, these games offer you something that's very different. They offer you this kind of complete, almost a holistic experience that you play from start to finish. And you literally, you get to the end of it, and you really have this really intense experience. And you put the pad down, and you're like, wow, that was just incredible. And we thought, well, why can't you bring some of that to a racing game? Why does it just have to be about cars kind of turning laps on a track? Why can't it be more like an adventure? And so that's basically what we've done with Motorstorm Apocalypse.
And more in detail, how have you done that? How have you built that experience?
Okay, so we've set Motorstorm Apocalypse in a city. Which was a real change from us from our kind of previous off-road locations. And one of the things that meant for us is we needed to create some kind of variety in this city environment. We absolutely didn't want it to feel like a regular street racer. It had to subvert the conventions, as I said before. So the only way we could do that really was to destroy the city. So we've set it during a major natural disaster, a huge earthquake, a series of tidal waves, twisters, you name it. It's all going off in the city. And what that allows us to do is to really play with the routes and really play with the environment dynamically in real time, as the player's racing. So we can open up new routes. We can create a rift in the ground that the player can drop down into that exposes an area of subway that they can drive through. We can collapse a skyscraper next to them. They can drive up the outside, the inside of that skyscraper as it's collapsing. We've got one of the races that starts on the top of skyscrapers that you race on. You actually get airlifted in on a helicopter at the start of the race. And all of these things basically, I think, lift it above just being a regular street racer and make it feel much more epic, much more intense, and just much more interesting, really.
So in terms of like the online experience, what are you aiming for there, and what can players expect?
We've totally remade the online experience for Motorstorm Apocalypse. I think for Pacific Rift we had a really solid playing online experience, but the actual metagame around it, there wasn't really much there. And at the time, that was almost enough. But online games have kind of moved on so much since then. So we thought, look, we really need to improve this. We need to create something that's unique to Motorstorm, that feels like it's part of the Motorstorm DNA, but that kind of dials into some of those mechanics and some of those experiences that players of, the likes of Killzone or Call of Duty are more familiar with. The types of reward structures and progression that you would expect in a first-person shooter. You don't normally see that in a racing game. But again, it's part and parcel of what I've been saying so far about us really turning the genre on its head. So our multiplayer mode it's 16 players online. We have split-screen play as well. Up to 4 players on one console, and we can also mix and match the two, so you can play split screen and online, and it's really to help make the online experience a lot more accessible. We have an experience-based ranking system, which is going to be familiar to most first-person shooter players, but there's some unique twists on it, really. The way that we have like full vehicle customization in the game, the way that the customization options are unlocked, the way that you get new stickers and decals and new parts for your vehicles is really quite unique, and you can kind of tailor what you want to unlock by the way you play the game. We also have a perks system, and we looked really hard at like performance customization, and we thought, well, doing really hardline performance tweaking, it's not Motorstorm, that's not part of the DNA at all. But what is kind of allowing these perks to modify the way that the cars behave, or almost modify the way you play the game. So, we have 3 categories of perk: boost, combat, and handling. You can have 1 perk active in each of these categories at any one time. And you start with like 2 in each category unlocked by default. And then as you progress through multiplayer and as you rank up, you unlock more and more perks. And it just allows you to kind of customize the way you want your vehicle to behave. And also you can have you can save out perk loadouts that are appropriate to different tracks. So if there's a particular track with a lot of water on it, you might want to use a perk combination that helps you kind of reduce drag through water or improve the amount of cooling you get from the water on your boost meter. And you can kind of stack these together, save that out, and then when you're in a multiplayer lobby and that map comes up next, you're like, right, that's the perk loadout for me. So again, you're kind of tailoring their experience. One last thing on multiplayer, actually probably one of the coolest features we're really proud of, and something really unique to Motorstorm, is betting. So we have a currency, which is our experience points, and we use poker chips. And you gain poker chips as you rank up, and those are the more poker chips you get, the higher you rank, the more components you unlock for your vehicle, etc. You can also bet these poker chips. So what we found was, in a racing game particularly, if you're not in the top 3, top 5, it can be a little frustrating. If you don't think you can, maybe you've been lapped, maybe you're a lap behind, and you think, well, what's the point in me playing? And we spent a long time thinking about how we can improve that experience for new players. Now, we have matchmaking, and matchmaking should try and sort that out, but sometimes you get matched with, it just depends. Some nights you're on an off night, you're not playing too well, and we don't want people to just turn it off at that point. What betting allows you to do is pick a rival for that race. So you think to yourself, okay, maybe I'm not going to finish top 5, but I could probably finish 6th or 7th. What I'm going to do to push myself then is I'm going to bet on the guy in 6th place. And what that means is, if I beat him, I win a certain amount of poker chips back. But if I lose the chips that I've bet. If I continue to win bets, I get a hot streak going. And that increases the multiplier and increases the amount of chips I get. So it becomes a risk-reward, right? Do I carry on betting? Do I carry on gambling these chips? And when do I bank? And when I bank, I can cash them into my experience and rank up quicker. So it just gives you another way to play. You're not playing for first place necessarily, but hey, maybe your friend's playing and you think you can beat your friend. So you just spend the whole night betting against each other. And that's a unique experience. You're still in the same race, but it just allows you to play it, again, the way you want to play.
Seems to be a common theme among most developers now doing AAA titles to sort of really flesh out the online multiplayer. And do you feel like that's something that's come naturally, or is it also something that's pushed by publishers because they want to see people enjoying the game for a longer time?
I think from our point of view, it's come really naturally, to be honest. We're really keen on developing the community. We've got a pretty vocal fan base. Our Motorstorm fan base they're excellent people, and we really wanted to reward them for, these guys are still playing Pacific Rift, a game that's released like 2 years ago, and we wanted to give them something more than what they were expecting. I think if we just added some more game modes, maybe slightly better matchmaking, persistent parties, they'd have been happy, right? That's not enough. It was never enough for us as a developer to do that. Every time we just want to push the boundaries absolutely in every area. And multiplayer was, is no exception. And this game is from the single player festival mode with its narrative, its story, its full orchestral score, its kind of remixes on the soundtrack, that we've pushed in that area. We have a complete online suite of new game modes. We have a game mode creator coming out soon.
How's that going to work?
We use a simple kind of rule-based metric. I want to talk a little bit about that later on, because that's coming a little later down the line, that one. But just to give you a taster, what you're going to be able to do is compose your own game modes based on a series of rules. So like an action-reaction. So, if this happens, then do this. And, we found that the Motorstorm community were kind of creating their own game modes outside the game. The game didn't really support it, but they'd monitor it on forums and, come up with their own scoring systems and stuff. So we thought, if we can get these guys to do it in the game and then share those game modes out, then that's got to be better, right? And hopefully, if we get it right, that's what's going to happen. So it's, like I said, it's coming a little later down the line. Not quite available yet. We want to make sure it's absolutely right before it goes out, because it's such a big feature. So we're working pretty hard on that to get that ready to roll out as a downloadable update, basically.
Sounds great. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.